Greetings all. This is our Kleinn train horn installation with Chris and Andy. Be sure you have plenty of patience, coffee, water, and a lot of time, and a good friend. You're going to see this bolt here we removed, which ties into the frame to the bed, as well as this bolt here and this bracket here to the corner of the bed. We remove these brackets here along with a 13 millimeter, and this one, what size was this, Sam? Well, it's this bolt right here that goes into the bed. I don't know the exact size because someone decided not to be informative. We remove these brackets here. Oh, really? And this is where the compressor bracket goes. So after unscrewing this one from this side here, 18 millimeter for the bed to the frame. Those two bolts. Ow, I'm okay. So this bolt, this bracket here, and this bolt is a 13 millimeter and the 18 millimeter for the frame, and this will get you set up for the bracket. You will be using most of this hardware that came off the truck. After the removal of this bracket on this side to this cab corner here, you're going to replace it with a carriage bolt. The carriage bolt also has a set washer. You have to carefully put the carriage bolt inside this frame rail with a pair of needle nose pliers and then fish it out, at the same time having a washer on the inside set it. You then put 3 washers on the outside with a nut. On this bolt there are teeth. This washer here actually locks in after you use the remaining 2 washers and nut to actually set it. Those 2 pieces of hardware you will reuse for further installation somewhere else. So right now, looking underneath, you can see this is the first threaded bolt we put through with the insert and the crush collar, and the second one right here. This was the one that was the big pain, because you have to go up, I don't know if you can see it, up and around into that elongated hole there. I can't really point to it, but right there, that elongated hole, that's what you have to fish the bolt and the washer through. Keep in mind, you must use the fishing line on the very last tip, the end of the bolt, otherwise you will be stuck and you'll have to get some fishing tools to retrieve this bolt, which you can do. This is crushed and nice and solid. This is crushed nice and solid. Now we're going to get the bracket and the factory bolts and install everything back. As you can see here, this bracket is mounted along with the compressor. We also recommend that this black hose right here, it actually installs on top here. There's a fitting for it to connect to. The instructions don't tell you when to install it. We learned that this must be installed at the same time before you mount it, otherwise you have difficulty installing this hose. The next step will be installing the tank. The outlet of this hose from the compressor goes to the inlet of the tank here. We also recommend you have all the wiring and fittings installed first before everything is mounted. It'll be placed up here, cradling, and we'll be bolting it up into this location, into this bracket. So from what you can see here, we just installed the air tank. As you can also see that there is a leaf spring here in this bracket and the top bracket as well. You have to be very careful installing this tank. You need 2 sets of hands to do this. You have to put this in extremely slow, otherwise you're going to scratch and gouge the tank. It goes in on an angle, and you have to slowly manipulate it in. After you have installed the tank, install the hardware here, and here, and here, and it locks in. Then you can install the braided hose. Keep in mind, be careful so you don't kink it. Keep it a nice clean loop, and you're all set. As you can see from under the front bumper, the horns are tucked and concealed from anyone to see. For my first video, the airline is ran to this location and attached to this regulator right here that you see. The power lines go into the engine compartment, which go to the fuse block. Certain trucks may vary where that location is. You'll have to check from your installation guide or your owner's manual where that is. From this point, this bracket is very simple. It mounts to the correct locations. It uses the tow hooks in conjunction with other parts on the frame to mount this bracket where the horns go. This setup took no more than about 45 minutes to install with all the necessary tools needed.